It takes a lot to grow your business, everybody. A lot of audience attracting, a lot of lead scoring, and all the channel managing you can manage. Plus a lot of long days, late nights, and weekends. We all know that. A lot wishing there was an easier way. But with Breeze, HubSpot's new collection of AI tools, it's easier than ever for marketers to attract audiences, increase leads, and score customers super fast. Which means pretty soon your company will have a lot to celebrate. So get to celebrating. Visit HubSpot.com/marketers to learn more. Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, February 13th. I'm John Weigell here with Juliet, Bennett, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Two LinkedIn connections got together and made some history recently. Jenny Nicholson and Alistair Hercus joined forces to create Lab 31, and with it, 31 different custom AI projects during January 2024. So how did they create so many AI tools, and what can we learn from their journey? We'll get into that, but before we do, let's give you the news in business and tech. First up today, Olipop is now valued at $1.85 billion following a $50 million Series C round. The prebiotic soda brand raked in $400 million in sales in 2024 and is the top non-alcoholic brand in the US. It's also getting put in a ton of stadiums, so look out for that. Next, earlier this week, we mentioned that Lyft is working on autonomous rides for 2026 in Dallas, Texas, but their 2024 was kind of a downer, unfortunately. The rideshare company saw a 6% drop in shares recently as a result of below expected Q4 earnings in 2024. Next, over to the financial sector, Zelle payments topped $1 trillion in 2024, which general manager Denise Leonhard said is the, quote, most money ever moved by a P2P payment service in a single year. That's huge. Growth is attributed to customers who use Zelle instead of cash and from small businesses that have adopted the payment system. Sorry, Venmo. And we go to the banks. Employees of JP Morgan Chase are organizing against RTO policies. The company announced a return to office mandate in January for its 300,000 employees, and some have created a petition to advocate for hybrid work. The over 500 signatories so far declare that full-time office work is, quote, a step backwards. And finally, Walmart purchased the Monroeville Mall in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. It's currently being managed by Cypress Equities, which gave a very broad statement about the mall's future development, citing several potential uses from retail to residential. But why is this fascinating, Juliet? Tell us why it's interesting.
Because this mall is famous for being the mall that a group of survivors hold out in George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, the 1978 version. If there's anybody who knows what to do with a zombie mall, it's probably Walmart, just think about it for a minute. But yeah, what's really fascinating, this mall is in Pennsylvania. It's the Monroeville Mall in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. I have actually been to this mall. I was on a road trip and I stopped by because of the Romero connection. And they actually have a small gift shop that's all zombie themed. And then they have a horror convention where fans come every year. So it's hard to say if what happens to the mall will retain this history. I know George Romero's widow, Suzanne, made a statement that she hopes it does, but we shall see.
Well, yeah, hope they haven't changed it since the movie filming. That would be really fun.
Yeah, it's actually still full of zombies.
Oh, perfect. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Great. Good for Walmart. Lots of cleanup. Cleanup on aisle 7, I guess. Okay, on to the main story today. Really cool story about two people that made tons of custom AI projects work in a 31-day span. So, Juliet, can you tell me a bit about what Lab 31 is?
Yeah, I thought this was pretty cool. Initially, it was pitched to me as something to put in our Around the Web section, which, as you know, is where we put all of our cool little tools and articles we find interesting and, of course, cute animal videos at the end of every newsletter. And I was like, actually, I would like to talk to these people because what they did was Jenny Nicholson and Alistair Hercus, they met on LinkedIn and got to talking and decided they were going to, in 2024, release a new AI product every day in January. I don't know why they didn't choose February, which has 28 days, but they went for January.
They went for
it's
big.
A full 31. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in that first year, they released a custom GPT for every day. And this year, they used a variety of tools, everything OpenAI has, Claude, Google Gemini, DALL-E 3, Grok, Luma, all the bells and whistles of AI. and created 31 individual projects.
Wow.
You might say that's a massive undertaking, and it is true. And if you read through Lab 31's essays, they have an essay for every day. They talk about the challenges of balancing this project and their other work and the fact that they're parents. So it's not like it was easy. But one thing that kept coming across as we spoke was AI made it a lot easier than if you have to start from scratch and learn Python and, do all of that yourself, which I thought was pretty interesting because I think there's a lot of conversation about how do we use AI, especially when you are a creative, when you're a writer, when you're a designer, how much is too much? How much is cheating? I think there was just a study that came out that said using AI too much can atrophy your brain. So,
wow.
So I think it's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me that they were able to ship all of these different tools and modules. How or why maybe did they decide to do all this? What was the goal at the very end after shipping the 31 different softwares?
Well, I think for them, it was kind of like a gamified way to produce something. At one point, Alice just said, I believe the quote was, everybody's talking about AI, but who's making AI, something to that effect? Who's making projects? So they decided to actually come out and make these projects. What they have learned about this is that the hardest part is actually coming up with the idea. So if you ask AI to make you an idea, it kind of just churns through what else is there, what have other people done. It doesn't bring you an idea necessarily, or it may not. But they found that once they had the idea, the easiest way to get it going was to talk to the LLM like it was a person and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. This is my idea. How would you do it? And the AI is generally able to build you a plan for how you're going to go about doing this in a way that's faster and more efficient than you might have thought of yourself.
Wow.
And that includes tools you may not know how to use, or you might not even know exist, that it's like, hey, what about using this? So in this second year, it's kind of like, all right, we have more tools available at our disposal. Let's do it again.
And considering that it's pretty difficult to come up with creative ideas for projects, what ideas do they end up coming up with?
In the newsletter, we, of course, link to this. There are 31 this year. There's 31 last year. You can go and check them all out if you want. Some of my favorites, some are kind of silly fun. I liked Shame Roulette, which is an application where you anonymously share a secret and then you get one in return that another person has left.
Oh, fun.
Life Stats is an immersive experience where you die and then it sort of tells you all of the times in your life you may have done a particular thing. So how many times has someone fallen in love with you? How many bugs have you accidentally eaten? All of those things are sort of imagined as different stats based on how old you are in your life. Creative Seance is fun. You summon the AI spirit of a noted creative for input on your idea. So you tell AI what you're thinking, and then it'll use the patterns of thinking of these creatives that it's drawing from to give you some advice.
Wow.
One is a golf simulator game. That's pretty fun.
Oh.
And then some are actually pretty useful. There's one called Pocket Guide that's an audio assistant that tells you about your surroundings so that you're not stuck staring at your phone trying to learn like, oh, what's this place? It'll read it to you. It worked in my house. It told me all about the street that I live on, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
There's a browser extension that analyzes your history for the day to tell you where your focus went. There's a celebrity coloring book generator. You can put in a celebrity and it'll make you a coloring book page that you can print out. I tried Patrick Stewart. It gave me Patrick Stewart.
Dang.
In a Star Trek uniform even. So,
Even a step further. That's great.
Yeah. So there's lots of stuff. The interesting thing about this project is it's not trying to tell you that AI is perfect every time, because sometimes, yes, Patrick Stewart did look a little odd, I will say. But it's using AI to the best of AI capabilities. So sometimes, you may get an error message or it may not work the way that you wanted it to. But they are 31 pretty fun applications that for someone having done them in a day, they're all great.
Yeah, it looks nice and scrappy. It kind of maybe brings us to more maybe positive message.
Yeah.
About AI and the internet is that if you want to try to do something, if you have a zany idea, you can probably put it into practice right now. It's maybe not that hard to do.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the takeaway. Like they came up with all the ideas themselves. And when you read about each project, they wrote that themselves. But in terms of just building it, they were able to use this tool to their advantage. So I think if you're somebody who's like, I'm a creative person, I don't want to ship out my writing, my art, my whatever to AI, but everybody's talking about it. How can I use it? How can I get it on the ground floor? I think their takeaways are pretty valuable.
For sure, especially because, as we see AI every day in the news and as we see larger companies utilizing it for their means and these huge data centers constructed, it's also nice to know that you can use this application too. It doesn't have to be big and scary. You can use it to do whatever you want, essentially.
Yeah. And moreover, and I think the thing that's most relevant to me and the people that I know is it cannot replace you. It can help you, but it can't replace you.
That's good to know. Oh my God. Tell big tech that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for now, I think if you try to replace Jenny and Alistair with AI and had those AI try to come up with 31 projects and then write about them, I think that they would really suck.
Yeah, they would probably suck and be derivative and nobody would want to talk about them.
Exactly.
All right, and that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go sign up at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at The Hustle Daily. We'll see you tomorrow.
New year, new resolutions. And this year on the Best Idea Yet podcast, we're revealing the untold origin stories of the products you're obsessed with. And we promise you have never heard these before.
Ever wonder how the iconic Reese's Peanut Butter Cup was invented? Because it was by accident. H.B. Reese, a former frog salesman,
true story,
stumbled upon the idea after accidentally burning a batch of peanuts.
Classic.
Proving that sometimes our best ideas arise from what seem like our biggest mistakes.
And Jack, did you know there's a scientific explanation why humans crave that surprising combo of peanut butter and chocolate?
I didn't, but it sounds delicious.
It is delicious.
So, if you're looking to get inspired and creative this year, tune in to the Best Idea Yet. You can find us on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you're looking for more podcasts to help you start this year off right, check out New Year, New Mindset on the Wondery app. Who knows? Your next great idea could be an accident that you burned. This is Nick.
And this is Jack.
And we'll see you on the Best Idea Yet.